Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Love What Luck. Hope you all had a lovely week. Not gonna lie, I've just had a day of it today. I've had a fine week. My week has been fine. And I think what it is that when I'm in work, any chance that I get outside of work, so that's in the morning I wake up earlier, on my commute, on my lunch break, basically any opportunity outside of work that I get, I do podcast stuff, like edit stuff, even just like looking for stuff, looking for stories, messaging people back with their stories. You know, I'm on it all the time. So when I have my first day off on the weekend, which is today, I'm like, right, great, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do this. And I give myself like this huge list, which usually, to be fair, I get through. But this morning, I just woke up, and it's just one of those days. I woke up and I was like, immediately no. I don't know what plans you made yesterday, but they're not happening. Not today. Matt was like, you okay this morning? A little bit quiet. I'm like, no, I'm fine. And for some reason, I always never like connect the dots that is probably PMS. It's like I forget all the time. So I'm like, oh my God, this is so disappointing that, you know, all week I've been feeling motivated, and then today when I actually have the time, I'm like, oh my God, my list seems like so big and unachievable, and I was going to tidy the whole spare room today because my friend's coming up. I'm like, that's not happening now. And I have all these, you know, grand ideas. And then I came into the room and I was like, a bit weird, right, I'm going to have breakfast, go on my phone. And then I watched this video of a basset hound being rehomed for the third time on TikTok and started to fill up. And then it was in that moment I was like, okay, suddenly the penny drops, you're hormonal, you're PMSing, you're a little bit sad. And when I knew that, it was okay then. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna run with it. I ordered myself a Burger King. I watched my shows. I just kind of relaxed into it because I just think that's the best thing to do, you know. Not beat yourself up over being unproductive. I've been productive all week. I can have one day where I'm semi-productive. I mean, I'm still recording the podcast. I also recorded a makeup video today. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, please do. My link is in the show notes. But I wanted to do makeup for a while, like makeup and a chat basically. And I've literally recorded it so many times. A couple of girls keep messaging me on Instagram asking for makeup tutorials. And I'm like, yeah, record it when I'm going to get it out next week. And then they're like, hey, I haven't seen the video. Yeah, sorry, I did not post it because I just look back and I'm like, I don't know, I just can't handle it. But anyway, today I was like, right, just do it. So I did that, and I'm recording the podcast. So I've been semi-productive. I had then though a sudden intense urge to move flats out of absolutely nowhere. So this flat has been like on the market for ages, it's sold, it's the second time it's sold, and Matt is really stressing, like, I really want it to clear in case the buyer drops out. And I'm like, look, don't stress, it's fine. If the buyer drops out, the buyer drops out. We'll find another one, like, it's okay, she's not going to drop out anyway. There's no point stressing over something you can't control. And I'm just like the words of wisdom. Today, I don't know where it came from, I was like, I need to move, and I need to move immediately. I want a new flat. I saw like a notification, something about mortgages, 40% of mortgages falling through. I was like, oh my God, please don't let this happen to our buyer. Like, I need to move. Then I find myself on IKEA. Bear in mind, we haven't even had a moving date or even know where we're moving to. I found myself on IKEA and I bought us a floor lamp. I say us, I haven't even told Matt. I'm not even going to either. I'm just going to wait until he listens to this podcast or until he comes home and is set up, whichever one comes first, because I'm getting it delivered. I bought a floor lamp. I was just like, do you know what? I really want one, and it's not going to go to waste, and it's not much extra room in storage if we don't need it for a little while. And it's come in on the weekend and I'm really excited about it. That's all I can say. It's gold. It was only £27, and I just think if I leave it until we move, chances are by the time that comes, I'm not going to be able to get it, you know, or Matt will talk me out of it. So I just got that, some bulbs and a photo frame. Long story short, I'm here. I'm by myself this week. As you know, if you listened to last week's episode, my mother was on, And thank you so much for anyone that commented and messaged, and a couple of people messaged her as well, or like saw her at the school or saw her out and said they loved it, and honestly it made her day, and in turn my day. She's really chuffed. She keeps asking me like, how many views are we on now then? Well, that's okay, isn't it? That's alright, isn't it? Like, Adele wants to go viral. So yeah, thank you for anyone that listened. And I actually forgot to say on the episode, but you might have seen if you follow me on Instagram. If you don't, I'm at Sadie Maltby, so come and give me a follow. I forgot to say on the episode, because my mother was on about star signs, how she read her star sign in the morning of the day that she met my father. And I forgot to say that my parents have got the same star signs. Their birthdays are 1 year and 1 day apart. And then my sister and brother-in-law are also the same star signs, and their birthdays are on the same day but a year apart. And then me and Matt are also the same star signs, and our birthdays are 8 days apart, I think, or like a week and a half apart. Like, how weird is that? Like, when I actually thought about it, I was like, oh, that is a bit strange. I don't really know anyone else that's the thing with. I've never even dated another Leo. So yeah, me and Matt are both Leos, which I have been reading before. Obviously, again, if you follow the Instagram, you'll see that I asked everyone, like, do you guys check star sign compatibility before you start seeing someone? Lots of you did say yes, to be fair. Lots of you also said no. There's probably people watching the polls being like, this bitch crazy. But I do, like, Leo and Leo can be really bad. Like, when I read it, it was like Leo and Leo can be really good, or it can be really bad. And it basically says, like, because they're both quite strong signs, that one of you needs to allow the other one to take the lead in certain things. So as long as you can do that, then fine. But if you both want to take the lead in the same thing, then you're going to find it difficult. So don't listen to them, but I just find them really interesting. So yeah, come and let me know if you've got any star sign thoughts. I honestly don't even know if I believe in them. I just love to read it. Although I did date a Scorpio before, and I remember reading Leo and Scorpio, and that was like the most on point one. Leo and Scorpio, from my experience, is not good. Like, it's not good. And everything that I read about Leo and Scorpio was true. I was like, damn. I would say that's like the most accurate one I've seen. This is a random story to say, but I was on this like show before, which I'm not going to go into, and I was speaking to Pete of Towie, you know, the one with the long hair. And we were having this conversation about star signs, and he was like saying all stuff, and he was like, guess what star sign I am? And it's the only star sign I can guess right is a Scorpio. I was like, I know. And he was like, oh, I was like, a Scorpio. He's like, yeah, I am. How did you know? I was like, I just know. For some reason, that's the only star sign I can tell. But I think we all do that, like with star signs. Like, you're basically checking to see if you're compatible with somebody and to see if it works. I think we all do that on different scales. Like, when you meet somebody, like, we try and find out straight away if they're a match. We ask, like, about their families, about their work, their star signs. Have they got friends? What are they friends like? Do they like to go out? Where do they like to go out? And it's like, if they've got something similar, you're like, oh my god, yeah, so good, because he loves rap music as well, or he loves going out. Oh my god, I met this guy and he loves to bake. Like, I don't know, whatever it is. And you try and like find these similarities and think like it's a really good thing. Like, oh my god, I read on this site that a Leo and Leo is really good together. I think we do that. But if you remember, for those that have been listening from like day one, in season 1, I got like a professional relationship coach on the podcast, Siobhan. And she's like a literal professional matchmaker, like that's her actual job. She contacted me on Instagram, that's how I know her, because she wanted to put me on her books to match me up with somebody, and it was like the day before I went on a date with Matt, so I was like, yeah, of course, do it. And then by the time she'd found somebody, I was like dating Matt, and she was like, okay, well, let me know how that goes, you know, hope it's okay. And then like a year later or something, I was like, hey, still with a guy, it's all going really good, will you come on my podcast? And yeah, but basically she said that we shouldn't actually do that. That yeah, it's good to be with somebody that has got the same interests in you, obviously. It's good to want to go out to the same places and eat at the same restaurants and stuff. But ultimately, that doesn't matter. And what you really need to be looking for when you meet somebody is if they've got the same values as you. Like the same core values, like about family, friends, work ethic. Just like your general values, basically. And that's what will make a relationship sustainable. Which makes complete sense. Like, one of my values is family. And obviously it's important to me and, you know, being there for each other, and same with friends, like loyalty with friends. So if I was with somebody and I was like, hey, it's my sister's 40th birthday, like we're having this big party, can you come? And they were like, nah, not really my scene. Like that would really upset me. I'd be like, it's my sister's 40th birthday, like it's a big deal, or my family going to be there. Or same like with Christmas, if I was like, oh yeah, we're having a big family Christmas party, I would love for you to be there. And they just like, no, like obviously if they've got a genuine reason that they can't make it, fair enough. But if they're just like, no, I don't fancy that, sorry, or no, it would make me feel uncomfortable. Like that's not sustainable for me in a relationship, because the family thing is so important, makes us a value. So yeah, this guy could love going out, eating, drinking, love going to the same places as me, love going for a run with me in the morning, but if he wouldn't turn up for my family events, I wouldn't stay with him. Absolutely not. So it makes complete sense. So guys, like I feel like today the theme of the episode is gonna be how to tell if you found the one or somebody special. And it's not with any of these silly things that we do, like we're all guilty of it, but really they don't mean anything. Like it doesn't really mean anything if you meet a guy and he also loves sweets and chocolate. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they're not silly things, they're really cute, but we're here to like weed out the time wasters. You don't want to be wasting time on somebody that on paper you think has got everything in common with you and it's going to work out, and then in reality you're asking them to come and pick you up because one of your values is being trustworthy and reliable, and they like, no, I'm not coming to pick you up from your night out because I can't be arsed. No. We need to weed out the values and the matches at the start. So that's where we're going to go with this episode. I feel like we do it really well with our friends. Like, I know my friends have done it to me and I've done it with them. If I see somebody, I mean, to be fair, it's mainly looks, you know, with friends. But if you see somebody that you think your friend is suited to, you'll think that you can match them up. Or like, this is such a weird thing to say, right? But my ex, I remember as I was like thinking, right, I need to break up with him, I just remember saying to my friend, I honestly wish that you had met him before me. I was like, because you two would be such a good match. It's because, like, firstly he was her type, and it sounds so weird because he was my ex-boyfriend, but it would be, to be honest, I'm saying like it's the silly stuff, it was all the silly stuff, but like they both loved Star Wars, they were both into the same things, they were both really academic, which is a value, to be fair. They were both just really similar in the way that they were, and I remember telling my friend like 2 or 3 times, and she was like, this is weird that you're telling me this. She was like, it makes sense that we would get on. She was like, because we're both in your life, so obviously we're gonna get on as people, like it, and that's it. I was like, no, I just think you two would have been a better match. Even to the point that after I was breaking up, I was like, do you know what, in a couple of years, like when we're both over it, you go ahead. I don't think I would mind. I don't know, it would be a bit weird, but I love how I'm talking this. My friend would absolutely never, and I mean my ex, who knows, but probably because he's a guy. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if that's the same thing, but what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we can see it for other people, we can kind of see if it's a match. It's like when my mother said last week that she knew straight away when I took some people home that we weren't going to stay together, or that they weren't the ones for me. And sometimes you can see it in your friends, can't you? But when you're in it with somebody and you're just excited to be with them and it's all lusty, you can't really tell. Although, I went to an event a few months ago now, and there was a girl there and she's speaking to us about how she met her boyfriend, and her friend was on Hinge scrolling through, saw this guy and was like, oh my god, my friend would absolutely love him. So screenshots him, sends it to her friend. Her friend is like, oh my god, yeah, he's actually really hot, I really fancy him. So the girl got his Instagram handle from Hinge, and then the friend followed the Instagram, didn't like say how she found him or anything, just followed him, liked a few pictures, he was liking them back, they started DMing, and now they're a couple. Isn't that crazy? Like literally, your girls just always got your back. Like your girls will know what's best for you. And yeah, he was her type and the friend knew. And as being a good friend, sent it on and hooked him up. Well, I say hooked him up behind the scenes. Like how fun is that? So yeah, I think my first piece of advice, in a very long-winded way there, which I'm not even convinced makes sense, but my first piece of advice is to listen to your friends and your family, because I just think because they're not in love with a person, they just get a very clear idea of whether or not it's going to work. So trust their judgment. And then I asked on my Instagram on a little... And then I asked people on my Instagram, again, if you don't follow me, it's at Sadie Maltby. I do these like little polls or questions quite a lot, so come and give me a follow if you want to get involved. But yeah, I did this poll and I asked people, how do you know when you found the one or somebody special? And these are some of the responses I got. Contentment, which absolutely, completely agree with. When they are the first person you want to tell any news to, which I think is so, so true. And I've noticed that massively. I actually had this conversation with my friend when I was in Vegas with her. I was like, my mother, when I was away, because I'd been away for so long and I only rang her once, and she was like, well, I've hardly spoken to you, I haven't had any pictures, blah, blah, blah. And then I said to my friend, I was like, I actually feel guilty because I can tell recently, like I still speak to my mother every single day, don't get me wrong, like I speak to her every day, but I can tell now that I probably do speak to her less, because lots of stuff I say to Matt, like, not like big things, obviously I will always still tell my mother, like it's always going to be the case, but there's like some things, like I'll be walking back from work on the phone, I'm like, oh, did I tell you this? And my mother's like, no. I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't even tell you that, but I definitely would have told Matt. Like it's weird how like it does just start to happen, they just become the first person you want to tell. It made me low-key sad when I thought of that. You don't question that you will always be together. True. I feel like when you start making confident plans in the future with somebody, then you kind of know that it's the real deal. Like when it doesn't give you anxiety, like not gonna lie, I had those conversations before and they're like, oh yeah, maybe next year we can, and I'm like, oh no, that's a sign I'm not actually gonna be here next year, sorry. You may make these hypothetical plans for me, but I won't be part of them, I'm afraid. Savage, but very true. When you can be or feel 100% yourself in a presence without fear of judgment, absolutely, have to be yourself in front of somebody, especially if you're me, because I got like a really weird sense of humour, and honestly it's actually annoying because Matt is really weird as well, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be together and think each other's funny. But he always says to me lately, what are you weird for? What are you weird for? And I'm like, do you know what? You were obviously weird as well. Like, leave me be, please. And he's only joking, but you know, if I was a different type of person, that could get to me and I could have him done for emotional abuse. Somebody else said, everything just feels so easy, they slot right into your life. Definitely. And like I've said that before, and this is like what I say to my friends, that like the right person will just be easy, everything will be easy. Even though, I mean, we have had a couple of episodes with very dramatic relationships, so I do take that into account, that you need the timing as well, and I spoke about that on the episode with Matt, so I won't go into it again. But yeah, they were all really good responses, so thank you for everyone that got involved. But then I also looked into it. I was like, how would you find the one, or like how would you know if it's like the real deal? Like, I'm not saying the one is like the be all and end all, but how do you know that like you're with somebody and this is gonna work out? Hi. Okay. Right. Gusto. Well, you got meat. I think there's sausages there. If you want me to just put sausages in the oven or something for you, and just have like a sausage sandwich. Alright, how long will they go in for? Okay, I'm just recording my podcast. Alright. So I found this article, and I actually love it because she's like a doctor. Her name is Dr. Chloe Carmichael, and she actually believes that you can theoretically meet many the ones, since neither you nor they are steadfast in who you or they were before you met. And she says that at its core, a relationship is supposed to help you learn and grow. And when you enter into a relationship with a person, you naturally adapt and evolve a little bit based on what they bring out in you. So like your partner will impact you, hopefully in a good way, obviously, not always, because some people are not very nice. But it means that basically, theoretically, you can meet many the ones that come to you at different stages of your life, which is a nice thing. So we're basically just saying how to find one, or this is her advice of how to find one for the stage of the life that you're in. I mean, I'm a romantic, and I don't believe there's only the one. I do actually agree with what she's saying. But I would like to think that Matt is the one, and neither of us are going to change that much in the future, that we have to fall in love with different people. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. She said, number one, the one will be a relationship-oriented person, obviously. And that's like the thing where I said before, where it needs to be easy, because things are not easy when one of you wants one thing and the other person wants like something more. That's when it's not easy, because the person that wants the same things as you, like wants a relationship, will be willing to put the work in. Do you get me? They'll be willing to put the time in, willing to, because it is effort, like at the start, especially when you meet someone. Obviously it's easier in one way because it's the exciting time, but it's also more effort because you can't afford in those like early days to like leave it hours before replying, or leave it days, or you can't afford to be like, oh, I really like you, but I'm actually not going to be able to see you for another 4 weeks, because in another 4 weeks you could meet somebody else, they could meet somebody else. Do you get me? So even though it's almost easier at the start, it's also more effort, and obviously they're strangers, so it's like a lot of effort to be texting and getting to know one in person. Do you get me? You always hear that, like when people come out of relationships, they're always like, I just can't be asked for another talking stage, because it is effort getting to know somebody. Even like, especially when I was on Hinge, like with Matt, I remember thinking, I said to the girls, I just need him to ask me out now, because I couldn't be asked to be on Hinge chatting to somebody that I hadn't met. And I'd been on the app 5 days, and only been single for like, well, I've been single for a while, but actually actively single, in London, where it's the only place I would date somebody. But I'd only been in London like a few weeks, and even I was like, I need to just go out with this person, because it's effort. 2, the one will be someone who is set on you too. This should be obvious, but for some reason it's not, and we all convince ourselves that if we think someone is the one, and they're not giving like the energy back that we deserve, the same respect, the same effort, if we still are into them as a person or like lusting after them, we still convince ourselves that they're the one, but the only reason it's not working out is because of this, like they're busy or they're tired or they've just got out of something, and we kind of like make excuses for these people, when ultimately I think we all know doesn't really matter. If you meet somebody that you're really into and you're ready for a relationship, you will make it work. Like, sorry, it has to be said. 3, the one will be someone who you can trust. Obviously, trust is a huge thing in a relationship, and again, I said this on the episode last week. I would like to think that the person who cheats on you and, you know, disrespects you and just like lets you down and makes you feel like you can't trust them, they won't be the right one for you. And I think that's so hard to see when you're in it, but when you're out of it, like, I mean, I see it all the time from people. They're in relationships, they get it when it breaks down. I also see it on TikTok a lot, and then you see them thriving years later because you realise, like, oh my god, obviously if this person was the absolute one for me, they wouldn't cheat on me and they wouldn't upset me, they just wouldn't do it. Like, you just wouldn't do it. Even though I do still stand by, you can still cheat on somebody and love them, we're not on about that here. We're on about the one, and I think that's a different thing. Number 4, the one will be someone who makes your body feel happy. Of course, we want no toxic emotional abuse here, please. No, thank you. We're harsh enough on our bodies, ourselves, in our heads. We don't need somebody else making us feel bad about them. No, thank you, sir. Number 5, the one might not have everything in common with you, but they'll respect any differences. Preach it. That's like what I was saying earlier. But yeah, you don't need to have everything in common with the person that you're with, and if there's differences, you need to be able to respect that. Who was I talking to about this the other day? Do you know, I might not have been speaking, oh my god, it was the Hailey Bieber interview. Lol, I definitely wasn't speaking to Hailey Bieber. She has different political views to her parents, and she says, like, it's easier for them to just not bring it up and they just don't talk about it. So it's that type of thing, like respecting the differences. I mean, obviously they're family, so she's not going to like abandon her parents, but it's the same in a relationship. Like, if you have real different views, and sometimes you just have to accept them and move on. Number 6, the one will be someone whose flaws you're able to acknowledge and still tolerate. Girls, never seen anything more true. Do you remember I said before that I thought the one would never annoy me, and then I met Matt? Yeah, this is very true. His flaws, I acknowledge them, best believe, and I tell him. Like, the sock thing drives me insane. Now he like takes his socks off and leaves them in random parts of the settee. He like winds me up with the toes. I'm not even going to go into it because I'm not going to give his feet any more airtime than they already have got. Like, and obviously there are no serious flaws. Like, sometimes if we've had an argument before, he's handled in a way that I don't like, obviously, because we're 2 different people. So there are other flaws as well, and I'm just glad Matt's not on this episode, because he would like come in on me with my flaws. But the main thing is we accept them and tolerate them. No one's perfect, you know. Number 7, the one will be someone with who you don't feel pressure to be perfect 24/7. Yeah, and also this works the other way around. Like, the person, you know, like if you were with somebody that you find annoying, if they like, I don't know, what can I say if for somebody that's not perfect? Say like, you come home, say you're not living together, and you go to their house one night and their flat is a mess, and they're like, oh my god, I'm sorry, like I've had a shit day, and their flat's a mess for like the full weekend or something. If they are not the one for you, you would find that annoying. You just would. And you'd be like, oh my god, like his flat wasn't even tidy. And then from their point of view, they'd be like, oh my god, well, I can't be perfect 24/7. Like, it works both ways. Whereas like if you were with somebody that you really loved and you were like, yeah, they're somebody special, they A1, even if they're not the one. If you came home and they were like, oh, went to see them, sorry, and they were like, oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm such a state, you'd be like, that's okay, don't worry, do you want me to help you clean? Like, what's going on? You'd be so much more understanding. Think of what you like with a friend or a family member. Like, if I went over to my friend's house and it was a mess, like, I would never judge them. Do you get me? Like, you just wouldn't do it. So it's just like having that same mentality. And I know it sounds weird, like, oh yeah, the one will be someone that you don't need to feel pressure, but you'll feel it the other way around as well. Number 8, the one will be someone with whom you can transition between having fun and being serious. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you need in a life partner, innit? You have to have a laugh with them, but you also need to be like, hey, we got bills to sort, are we getting married, are we having babies, you need, or if you've got kids, you need to pick up the child from school today, like, it needs to be serious. Number 9, the one will be someone who makes you laugh at yourself. 100% the most important thing. I think that's like almost number 1 on, or at least it's top 5 on everyone's list when you ask them either what they love about their boyfriend or like their partner, or what do you want to find in a partner. It's always make me laugh. And to laugh at yourself, absolutely the best thing. But do you remember I used to say that like I never used to find that important because I used to think I was funny enough? Like, what? What does that say about some of the relationships I've been in? Like, genuinely. I mean, they've all made me laugh to a certain degree, but not all of them have given me the level of humour that I need to like keep my brain stimulated. You know what I mean? Number 10, the one will be someone who works through conflict with you. Yeah, that's good. I think it's really important. I might have said this before. I think one of the biggest things is when you're with somebody is how you can argue with them and how you get over an argument. Like, do you remember my girl Sophie on the episode where she found out that the guy she was seeing was with another girl? And they had an argument. It was the first argument they had, and the way he spoke to her in that argument, I was like, this is it, you need to leave him for the stuff he's saying. He's going personal. I was like, it is not on. And when you have that first argument with somebody, they will show you their true colours, like how they speak to you and stuff. It's just not good. That was the red flag for me. And he was seeing someone else and he turned out to be, no, definitely not the one for it. So I'm trusting my gut with that. I think that's a real big one. Also, if you're like me and you couldn't be asked to argue with some guys, also a red flag, because it means you don't care. Number 11, the one will know how to fight and make up with you. That's kind of the same as the previous point. Number 12, the one will take a genuine interest in your life and you will in theirs. Definitely. I saw a thing on TikTok the other day of a guy saying, if a guy asks you how your day went, then he's into you. So take that tip from a guy off TikTok. But yeah, of course, if you actually want to know and you care what's going on in somebody's life and their day, then you're obviously going to be into them. Number 13, the one will lean on you for support and let you lean on them. Standard. You know what, I think we need to start thinking about the ones as we do with our family and friends. Because if you think how good you are with those family and friends, that's what we need to think of in relationships. Like, the same way as like you can call a family member or a friend. Like, if something was going wrong with you, you could ring them. Like, you'd have a selection of people that you could ring no matter what, and you know they'd help you. The person you're seeing needs to be in that little roster of people. If they're not there in a list of people that you could call at 2 in the morning in an emergency, you need to block them and delete their number. That's what I'm saying. Number 14, the one will share a similar vision of your future. Definitely. I think this is like with values and stuff as well. Like, you need to know if they want to get married and have kids, if that's what you want. And people always say like, oh, you can't ask that too early on. But it makes sense. And I had never had that conversation with anybody until Matt said, like, on our second date, like, I want a relationship. And then he was like very clear that he wants kids and get married because he's old, like he's 38, so you haven't got time to waste, and we should be thinking it doesn't matter how old you are, even when you're younger, it's like good as it is to enjoy time with somebody, like that you can't be wasting time with somebody if ultimately you want like an end goal in the future and they're not on that goal with you. Not worth it for either of you, because then you're just going to fall in love and get strong feelings, and then it's going to make the breakup much harder. And then the last one, number 15, the one will put in the work to make you feel loved. And she says, above all, know that the one will give us as much as they take. Relationships aren't 100% equal 100% of the time, but when you find the one, you'll know. And not because you get some magical feeling, me always says about that, but because they make an equal effort to understand your fears, your love languages, your needs, and just you. And you'll do the same for them. So there you have it, guys. There's some words of wisdom and advice, and above all, I really hope, for me, the goal of that, I really hope that if some of you out there are seeing somebody that's not meeting the criteria, and you're thinking, oh well, actually they done put in the same amount of effort as me, they done make me feel loved, they done do this, cut it short is what I'm saying. I'm feeling very, you know, straight to the point today. I'm not taking any bullshit today. I'm not making any excuses for anybody. I'm not an expert, but I've known when somebody's not the one, just with how I feel and how I've treated some people. You just know, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Don't waste your time. I've real strong feelings lately, I think since turning 31, that time is just ticking and it's going so quickly. Like, we're in October already. It stresses me out. I'm like, time is just flying by, and I'm really starting to feel how precious it is, and I just don't want to waste time with the wrong people in my life, or even doing the wrong type of things. Like, I definitely feel like there's a big switch in me in this last year, I would say, where I want to try and utilise my time more, and we just have not got the energy to waste time on people that just don't deserve it. What I will say as well is one of my top tips that is always the complete opposite to what I believed, is the calmness. Like, I always have said this before, I think I said it on the first episode, I always used to associate seeing somebody that I really liked and feeling like sick and getting that like butterfly feeling that everybody spoke about and everybody says is like the best thing when you get butterflies and you feel nervous and like sick to see them. I had that with so many people, and I always was like, oh my god, I must really like them. And then when I met Matt, I didn't really have him. I felt very calm. It was like a calmness as soon as I saw him. I wasn't feeling like sick or nervous. It was just calm. And I was like, oh my god, like, obviously I really like him, and I know I do, and I'm not getting these like physical reactions. And it just makes complete sense when you actually think about it, that like sometimes before I'd meet somebody I would feel sick. Why would that be considered a good thing? Why is it considered a good thing that you're nervous before going to meet somebody? That really means like that you can't be yourself, maybe. I don't know. I never felt like I wasn't myself on these dates or anything, but now I see the difference. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. So for me, my top tip is calmness. But I'm also like a quite an anxious person, so when I feel calmness, it's rare, and I really like appreciate it and really like to indulge in that. Okay, and then I have actually got a love story to end on. And it's basically, can you imagine, and I don't even know what this says to anything that I've just said, but can you imagine thinking you found the one, and I sincerely hope from this story that she realises in a few months' time that this guy was not the one for her. Because can you imagine going through all this, getting engaged to somebody, planning a wedding, and then getting jilted at the altar? Because that is the story I'm ending this episode on. So I saw the story on Wales Online, and then I saw it on TikTok, and then when I googled it later, it's like all over the internet now. So I'm gonna read it to you if you haven't already seen it. The girl's actually Welsh. I don't know if that means the guy is, hopefully not. If he is, steer clear, girls. I don't even know his name, but look out for anybody that says that they were recently engaged, please. So the girl is Kaylee Stead, or Steed, don't know how to pronounce it, sorry. And she was getting married. She spent her whole life savings on a wedding. She spent 12 grand on a wedding. And she said the night before the wedding, her and the groom stopped talking at about 4 o'clock, but she's like, nothing was unusual about that, because obviously it's the day before the wedding. They'd agreed not to speak to each other before, and then on the day of their wedding, her friends took her phone to allow her to be in the moment. And you know what it's like. Well, I mean, I actually don't, because I've never been married, but I've been to weddings where, you know, the morning when the bride's getting ready, it's like a really big thing, and you want to be present, and you're not worried about contacting anyone because you're in your little bride's bubble. So yeah, they'd already agreed to not speak the night before, and I'm just going to read the story out. Kaylee and her ex had been together for almost 4 years after they started dating in December 2018. They were engaged when he proposed in August 2020. The night before the wedding, Kaylee stayed in an Airbnb celebrating with her bridesmaids. The groom and his groomsmen stayed in a caravan near the venue. Kaylee said, "The groom and I had already agreed not to speak the night before the wedding anyway, so I didn't know what was happening on his end. I didn't have a clue. I was in complete unknown bliss." Unbeknownst to Kaylee, the groom left the caravan that evening and never returned, leaving the groomsmen to contact the bridal party with the dreadful news. Kaylee said, "We woke up at 6:15 in the morning when the makeup artist arrived. We had breakfast together and then started getting ready. One of the groomsmen contacted my best friend to say the groom was gone. The bridal party hid my phone so they could decide what was the best way to tell me and I wouldn't find out from someone else. And they wanted to make sure he was definitely gone before panicking me. I found my phone, and so I had a missed call from his mum. I called her back and she was crying. She told me he had gone for a drive in the early hours of the morning and that he was gone. At that point I wasn't nervous. I was still quite hopeful, as throughout our relationship he had sometimes gone for a walk or a drive to clear his head when he was nervous. For a couple of hours I was saying he was going to be there and I was reassuring the girls. I honestly believed, hand on heart, that he was going to be there. I asked the girls, his family and the groomsmen to continue getting ready because I honestly believed he was going to turn up. At around 11 AM, Kaylee had just sat to have her hair done and her makeup all finished when she spoke to the groom's dad on the phone. He said her partner had been in touch and would not be attending the wedding. Kaylee said, "At that point I was gone, I was sobbing. Once I told my parents, the hairdresser and the videographer, that's when I had to tell myself that it wasn't going to happen." As a joke, the videographer said, "Why don't you carry on? You spent all this money, you're not getting it back, all your guests are there, why not?" Kaylee's bridal party called the groomsmen and told them to head to the wedding venue where they would carry on the day, regardless of the groom turning up. The two parties headed into the ceremony room together and told the guests what had happened before asking them to head out to the garden to meet Kaylee instead. Kaylee said, "I didn't want to see the ceremony room. I've never seen how that looked. When my sister and my best friend were explaining what had gone on to the guests, everybody was crying because they had been looking forward to that day. I asked for 10 minutes to myself before I saw everyone. Rather than walking down the aisle, I walked around the corner in my dress and had everybody just looking at me. Nobody knew what to do. I think they were a bit scared to say something. But suddenly everybody started cheering and hugging me." So the groom's family left and Kaylee walked into the venue to Lizzo's Good As Hell. Like, what a tune. She still had all her pictures done with her family and friends. And she said, "You can probably see a few tear streaks down my face, but I love the photos." They still had nice speeches and they all had a big party. The photo booth had originally displayed Mr. and Mrs. with what would have been the couple's married name, but was quickly replaced with a sign that read Kaylee Shindig. I love that. Rather than sharing her first dance with the groom, Kaylee instead danced with her dad, brothers and the groomsmen to Love You to the Moon and Back by Dolly Parton. Kaylee said, "I'd always dreamed of dancing with my dad at my wedding. He's 71 and I always had a fear that he and my mum wouldn't be at my wedding, so I always wanted to have my dance with him." Yeah, they basically just had a really good time. I think I would do exactly the same, because what's the point of wasting all that money and everybody turning up? Might as well make the most out of it. What else are you going to do? Go home and cry? I just absolutely love that she did that and that everybody there got on board with her. And like, I've got the pictures in the article. I'll link the article in the show notes so you can read it all. And it just looks like a fun day. Like, obviously she's upset, obviously, but it's really like making the best out of a bad situation. And she looks lush. But the worst part is that the groom never contacted her. So she messaged him and he fully ghosted her. He's fully ghosted her. He's never spoken to her since. So not only did he leave and like jilt her, he also didn't tell her. His parents had to tell her. And he also never contacted her since. Like, that to me just blows my mind. Like, if you can't do anything, just send a text, send a voice note, like send something. Like, to do that and then literally imagine getting ghosted by your fiance and boyfriend of 4 years, like the night before your wedding. Like, that's getting ghosted on a whole different level. Like, that shit's giving PTSD. Like, I actually don't even know what I would do in that situation. But what I will say is I googled it afterwards, and Phil and Holly have offered to pay for a honeymoon, or like give her £2,000 to go on a honeymoon with her friends. There's a GoFundMe page being set up that's got £7,000 on it so far. I'll link that as well in case anybody wants to donate. And she's just gonna get her money back, and I think she's gonna go on a big holiday with her bridesmaids. So I love that like everyone's helping out for her, and she's, you know, gonna keep doing the best that she can, I suppose. But oh my god, like, what absolute savage to do that to somebody. If she ever listens to this episode, just know that that guy was obviously not the one. Obviously, because the one would never ever do that to you. It just wouldn't. Yeah, well that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up. Quite a long episode this week. Please subscribe, guys, and leave a review on Spotify, as it really helps me. And come and give me a follow over on Instagram. Share any stories that you've got, and come and get involved in the polls and the questions with me, so that we can all chat. I love to get all your feedback and have a little bit of a girl talk. So yeah, that's it. Hope you all have an amazing week, and I'll speak to you next Tuesday.